As I see it, the attacks on New York and Washington were, as the president said, an act of war. But this was not Pearl Harbor. This was not the opening salvo in a new conflict, the first war of the 21st century, as he puts it. This was part of a continuing struggle that has gone on for quite a while and goes back to the original contest over who will control the Persian Gulf area and the oil riches of the Persian Gulf. The United States has said since World War II that the Persian Gulf and the oil of the Gulf is essential, vital to American national security. And therefore we have formed alliances with whoever we could in the area to assist us in protecting that interest. We allied with the Shah of Iran until he was overthrown in 1979 by Khomeini and his followers. Since then, we've relied extensively on the Saudi royal family, the Fahd family, for our base of support in the area. And in doing so, we have built military facilities in Saudi Arabia, stationed American forces there to protect the oil flow. When those facilities and the oil flow were threatened in 1990, when the Iraqis invaded Kuwait, we immediately sent a force to protect Saudi Arabia. That was Operation Desert Shield, the prelude to Operation Desert Storm. Since then, we've been building up our military capability in the area. I would say at this point, we have so much strength in the Gulf, not only in permanent U.S. forces, but also the prepositioned equipment that's been placed there, that any state would be sufficiently deterred by the threat of another Desert Storm to avoid a dead-on conflict with the United States. But you still have those internal dissidents in some of these countries who oppose the American presence, and especially oppose the American presence on Saudi soil, because this is viewed by many people of the Islamic world as a kind of holy land, the site of Mecca and the other main religious sites of the Islamic faith. They deeply detest and resent the American troops, and they hold the Saudi royal family responsible. And bear in mind that the Saudi royal family is protected by U.S. troops, both externally and internally. We're closely associated and manage Saudi Arabia's internal security forces, who have been involved in suppressing dissent against anti-monarchy dissidents. And it's out of that milieu, the anti-monarchy dissident community, which was suppressed by force and quite violently, that bin Laden and his closest associates come. And so, and because in Saudi Arabia they've been unable to express their opposition through legal means, there's no freedom of speech and assembly in Saudi Arabia, and dissent is silenced brutally. There's no protections. They fled, they've gone underground, and they have resorted in the only kind of warfare that's available to underground illegal dissident groups, which is what we call terrorism. And they have been fighting a campaign that goes back at least till 1995 to drive the United States out of Saudi Arabia and out of the region. The first attack came in 1995 with the bombing of the Sang headquarters in Saudi Arabia. That's the Saudi Arabian National Guard, which is the internal security force, but to a great extent managed by the U.S. 5 U.S. servicemen were killed in that attack in Riyadh. Then they went after the Khobar Towers in 1996, and they went after the USS Cole last year and our embassies. So I think that from their point of view, bin Laden and his associates are engaged in a long-term struggle to drive the United States out of the Persian Gulf. And because they have been unsuccessful up till now with strikes in that region, that hasn't deterred U.S. determination to stay a power in the area. I think they chose to strike in our homeland, in the United States itself, with the intention of making Americans choose to say that it's not worth it to us any longer to maintain this presence. this is my attempt to reconstruct their thinking, that this was a strategic move, not a symbolic act, but a strategic move to cause such dismay and despair in this country that we would pull out of the Middle East, essentially, and allow them to succeed in their objectives, which are to create a Taliban state in Saudi Arabia and in the entire region, free of American presence entirely. So it was a strategic act. I think they deeply miscalculated, because I don't think that they understood how powerful would be the American response, not one of despair and retreat, but it's only going to provoke the U.S. in the opposite direction. So I think they miscalculated terribly. But I'm just surmising from what we know of the history of these people that this was part of a long-term strategic campaign that has to do with the control of key sites in the Persian Gulf region.